Reports of my demise were greatly exaggerated.
This month's banner runs from June 5th to July 9th and features the latest and greatest fanfic elf from Zlong's Langrisser Mobile original story arc, Sylrna. As a limited single-unit banner, any SSR you pull has a 40% chance to be Sylrna, or a 60% chance to be a random off-banner unit. If you do spike an off-banner, you'll get some consolation shards, so you can still get her even if your luck is bad. Sylrna is the Queen of Dreams in the fanfic saga. Actually, hang on, let's fix this real quick. For whatever reason, they made the portrait for her playable version worse than the one for her NPC appearances. Okay, there we go, that's better. Her talent gives her plus 30% damage dealt, and she's unaffected by melee damage reduction. After acting, she can choose to open a Dream World Rift. If she does, she can immediately act again with her remaining mobility. When she's within 2 spaces of a Dream World Rift, she can't be targeted by enemy attacks or skills, doesn't take AoE damage, doesn't consume mobility when moving, and can move through enemies. The Rift has a 3-turn cooldown trigger at 5 and 6 stars. She has a couple of unique 1-cost skills. One is a passive that reduces her Rift cooldown whenever a non-summoned ally dies, and afflicts the enemy who killed them with a brand of retribution. When Sylrna is fighting an enemy with a brand, they have 20% reduced stats and can't trigger revives. If Sylrna kills a branded enemy, the allies killed by that enemy come back as summoned phantoms. She has a couple of unique 2-cost skills too. One is a single target heal that also refreshes the target's cooldowns and grants them the immunity from being targeted benefits from her talent. The other is a generic faction buff for Dark Reincarnation. Her 3-cost skill passively auto-casts a Dark Reincarnation faction buff whenever she summons one of her rifts. This better faction buff grants plus 15% damage dealt when actively attacking, and 1 space of mobility mitigation when moving through the rift. When used actively, this skill is a 1.7 times damage single target attack that increases the target's damage taken by 20%, and applies a debuff that makes the target unable to be guarded, and unable to be targeted or affected by their allies' skills or effects. If this is cast within 2 spaces of a rift, the attack can ignore guard. After casting, Sylrna can then teleport back to a position within 2 spaces of an allied rift. She's a member of Dark Reincarnation, buffed by Bozel, Licorice, and herself, Origins of Light, buffed by Dheart, Jugler, and Freya, and Yeles Legends, buffed by Landius, Sigma, and Enya. For bonds, she doesn't unlock anyone else's bonds, and she doesn't need anyone else for her own bonds, only runestones. For content, in PvE she's on faction for Leviar, Valkyrie, and Phoenix in the Eternal Temple, and Jormungandr, Fenrir, and Nidhogg in Ancient Beckoning. Her rifts can give her a little bit of extra mobility, and her talent has sporadic downtime, meaning she can't outright cheese content on her own. Still, being able to hide herself and an ally, even temporarily, could be enough to set up or dodge a mechanic here and there. Just be creative and have fun. Obviously though, she is designed as more of a PvP unit, with the equally obvious intended goal of counterbalancing the current Dragon Slayer meta with her ability to disable his many revives. For her build, you can use her demon class in PvE, but you'd want to go mage for PvP. It is less bulky, but there are still a lot of holy units out there, even with Dragon Slayer around. She doesn't have any natural plus range in her kit, so you'll want to use the Scepter of Divinity, and then whatever other typical mage gear suits your needs. Breeze is her most versatile enchant, but if you find you're consistently getting someone like Celica or Bright Summoner in the same draft, then you could definitely consider Clock, since Celica will make it auto-proc, and BS can very easily apply a free Tenyo Breeze. Okay, that brings us to the notes for noobs. Sylrna is a must-summon for PvP because she introduces an additional dynamic into the stale Enya or Vargas-dominated meta. I'd say we need all the tools we can get. If you're a pure PvE player, then you can make do without her, but she's probably still pretty fun. If you're just starting out with a relatively new account, there are definitely other casters who will carry more weight in the early game than Sylrna does. Okay, so now for our usual reminder about upcoming banners. Next week, we're getting the first Hopes and Dreams Lotto that will contain the SP upgrade stone for Landius. So if you want SP Landius, you'll want to save 4,000 of your hard-earned crystals. Given that this is a half-anniversary update, we'll also be getting a plethora of wishlist banners and returning single-unit banners. On top of all that, later in the month, we should also be getting the Valentine's Exchange banners, featuring Roland and Prisha, Zion and Ilya, Zion and Alia, and Emir and Nymph. So there are a lot of options for summoning. Like, a lot. If you have the resources, you can use this whole month as an opportunity to fill gaps in your roster, or shore up your PvP box. Next month's major update returns to some real Langrisser characters, with Shem for Apexers, and Macarena for, you know. I'll be back with a summoning stream, and I don't mind going all in for Syl because I love her original design. I will keep 4,000 gems in the tank for Landius, but beyond that, pray for Mojo. Thank you so much for watching, and extra special sincere thanks to our Langrisser tier channel members Levitt, Jerome Meyer, Unknown Gaming, Sarah McKnight, and Seraph Keel. Thanks for keeping me and Beans in your thoughts. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon.